A low murmur rolled across the grandstand the moment Ascot officials replaced the glossy carriage list on the paddock notice board and the Princess of Wales's name was no longer there. It was not a sudden gasp, more a rippling undertow of curiosity that spread from the champagne pavilions to the grassy rails in seconds. Seasoned racegoers checked their printed programs twice. Photographers zoomed their lenses toward the royal stables, half expecting the familiar flash of Catherine's white Catherine Walker coat, or the tilt of one of her featherlight hats. When neither appeared, a hush settled, broken only by the soft rustle of silk dresses and newspaper betting slips. In that tiny pause, the story of the day rewrote itself. Within the hour Kensington Palace confirmed the obvious. The princess was stepping back, on her doctor's advice, after a demanding fortnight of public duty. She would spend the day resting at Adelaide Cottage. Some watchers felt the familiar tug of worry, others a wave of disappointment. But just as anxiety began to thicken the summer air, two quiet figures emerged at the racecourse gates, arm in arm, smiles calm as glassy water. Kate Middleton, the mother who raised a queen-in-waiting, and Alice Middleton, the elegant French-born wife of Catherine's youngest brother James. Their arrival was not theatrical, it was timed to the minute. 1 minute the cameras were panning aimlessly across the parade ring, the next they locked onto Carol's buttercream lace and Alice's silvery feathers. No usher trumpeted their presence. They simply walked forward, accepted race cards, and let the lenses do the rest. A new headline landed in editors' laps: yes, Catherine is recuperating, and yes, her circle has her covered. That was when an older gentleman in the lawns whispered to his companion, "You know, a queen breeds queens. Look at that composure." The remark captured the mood perfectly. Because beneath the pastel hats and polite nods lay something steelier, a maternal vow echoing through Ascot's green acreage. Carol's hat alone told a story. The sweeping Juliet-style piece, borrowed from her own wardrobe, had last graced Windsor during Prince Louis's christening. Back then Catherine had chosen the design, because its soft twist and plume reminded her of a fledgling bird. Today the very same hat perched on Carol's head, a gentle wink across the years to her grandson, and to her daughter's ongoing journey from vulnerability back toward vibrancy. Alice's silvery fascinator echoed the palette, its feathers stirring in the breeze like quills ready to record the latest Middleton chapter. Observers who expected a tightly choreographed, royal replacement, quickly realized they were witnessing something different. No royal equerry flanked Carol, no official footman announced her to the steward. She was there in her own right, representing the private family that has formed Catherine's first line of defense since long before tiaras, before palace corridors, before the global microscope. Nearly every royal biographer notes that Catherine's greatest strength is the invisible scaffolding of the Middletons, parents, sister, brother, who operate without fuss whenever the pressure upon Kensington Palace threatens to tip from heavy to crushing. If you listened carefully between race calls, you could sense what this day meant for Carol. As the royal procession thundered down the straight, King Charles and Queen Camilla waving from the first open landau, Prince William seated opposite, she did not jockey for a grandstand seat. She positioned herself precisely where photographers would catch her glance of approval toward the king, then she slipped into a quieter vantage point. Her job was done. The world had seen her, noted her assurance, and concluded that Catherine was shielded by something deeper than duty, family loyalty. Meanwhile Alice, who joined the Middleton clan only a few years ago, embodied the family's newer chapter. She greeted acquaintances in French and English, chatted easily with Lady Sarah Chatto near the champagne bar, and deftly deflected a reporter's question about Catherine's health with a single sentence. "She is looking after herself, and we are looking after each other." A masterclass in brevity, enough truth to satisfy, no detail to exploit. Inside the royal enclosure William held court, with the sure-footed charm that has become his signature in Catherine's intermittent absences. He laughed with jockeys, praised the going, and handed over the trophy for the Prince of Wales's stakes. Yet anyone attentive to micro-gestures noticed the way his eyes searched the crowd whenever cheers reached a certain pitch, an instinctive check to see whether the one person he most wishes to share the moment with might have slipped in after all. Camilla, radiant in dove-grey Bruce Oldfield, read those glances too. On the carriage ride up the course she leaned forward, offered William what lip readers later identified as a whispered, "She will be watching on the screen, my dear." The Queen's own day has long been shaped by her experience of public scorn and later redemption. Perhaps that is why she approved the optics of the Middleton appearance. Hers has been a lesson in how unorthodox support networks can bolster a royal life. And Carol, in her understated lace, was living proof. Behind the stands, Ascot historians talked about anniversaries. This was the 200th year since George IV invented the royal procession. The day was meant to celebrate continuity. Yet the most compelling narrative became Catherine's strategic retreat, and the civilian relatives filling the space with reassuring grace. Continuity, yes, but of a different stripe. Carol took a moment near the weighing room to speak with the Duchess of Gloucester. No press heard the words, but a lip reader stationed for tabloids was certain she said, "Kate sends her love and hopes the sun keeps shining for you." That small message served two audiences. To the Duchess it confirmed Catherine's interest in every royal presence. To the world, once the quote leaked, it underlined that the princess was engaged, not invisible. Throughout the afternoon, subtle tributes to Catherine dotted the lawns. Lady Gabriella Kingston wore aquamarine, reminiscent of the princess's trooping the colour coat. The Marchioness of Cholmondeley chose a white hat trimmed with 3 tiny feathers, one for each Cambridge child. Even William's choice of tie, a soft cornflower blue, matched the shade Catherine sported at Garter Day. None of these touches were announced, yet the message layered itself like paint on an old canvas. She is absent, but she is everywhere. Between races, chatter turned to the wider context. Catherine had completed 3 major engagements in 7 days, trooping, Garter, a children's hospice message filmed in Windsor, before deciding Ascot was a stride too far. Doctors approved the slow build of stamina after chemotherapy, but warn that adrenaline masks fatigue until the body crashes. William knows this. He knows it because he watched his mother work herself past exhaustion, because he nursed his father through his own recent treatments, because he has learned that a stable crown requires stable people beneath it. When the king first discussed the idea of granting William and Catherine an unofficial summer slowdown, the prince asked only one thing: "Let my in-laws bear visible witness that our family stands whole." Ascot was the perfect stage. High society, press pen, afternoon sunshine, all calibrated for maximum optics. Just after the 4th race, Carol and Alizé slipped into the private lift behind the royal box, joined by Pippa Middleton in mint green silk and Thomas van Straubenzee, George's godfather. They toasted the king's horse Desert Hero, drank to Catherine's next milestone, then left by a side gate before evening shadows reached the lawn. Their work was done. They had turned Catherine's absence into a portrait of invisible strength. By late afternoon a statement from Kensington Palace dropped quietly onto royal reporters' phones. The Princess of Wales is grateful for the many good wishes she has received this week. Her recovery continues to progress, and she is spending time with her children before the school term closes. Beneath the official tone lay a subtext every parent understands. The end of term brings sports days, prize givings, lost uniform socks, last-minute cupcakes. Catherine chose that familiar chaos over the polished chaos of Ascot. Her mother and her sister-in-law ensured the glittering show went on anyway, without forcing her to play lead actress when rest was the wiser script. Even the bookmaker boards seemed to echo the theme. Odds on the next royal engagement where Catherine would appear shifted gently, not in panic. Punters shortened their bets to the summer trooping of the tartan at Balmoral, an event far from paparazzi, surrounded by heathered hills, exactly the environment doctors recommend for building strength. When evening fell and the last horsebox rumbled out of the paddock, William climbed into a discreet Range Rover. On the back seat lay a single program, its front page amended in his own handwriting. Where Catherine's name had once been, he had written 3 words in pen: next year, yes. A promise to himself, to her, and to the thousands who cheer every glimpse of that confident wave. Back at Windsor, Catherine watched a recording of the procession with the children. George spotted Granny's lace hat at once. Charlotte gasped at Uncle William's carriage. Louis, the unstoppable bundle, pointed at Alizé's plume and shouted, "That's the one from my christening." They all laughed, and Catherine let the laughter seep into her bones. Healing is not only medicine. It is also hearing your son recognize a feather, and knowing the world kept turning while you paused. Carol tucked the borrowed hat away that night, wrapping it in tissue scented faintly of Windsor roses. On the box she wrote a note for Catherine, for whenever you need a reminder that your family is always in the crowd. A mother's love, archived in ivory lace. Thus the day that might have been remembered for a princess's absence became a masterclass in how families, royal and otherwise, close ranks, send in their quiet warriors, and turn vulnerability into poise. The crowd went home talking not of illness, but of allegiance, of the unfolding saga of a future queen, whose greatest strength remains the ordinary people who loved her before the world did. If you want the next chapter, subscribe now, because the moment Catherine steps back into the spotlight, you'll want to witness how a mother's borrowed hat, a sister-in-law's silver plume, and one family's unshakable unity helped shape her return.